Welcome to part 2 of Let's Play Return to Firetop Mountain by Ian Livingstone. At the end of the last part, I was on paragraph 238, and I was about to decide whether to pick up the Orc and turn to 398, or if I'd rather sail on and turn to 136. I'm going to sail on because Orcs are never nice things, are they? So let's turn to 136. Which is other page, there we go. As your boat speeds by the Orc, he snarls and hurls a throwing axe at it. Roll 2 dice. If the total rolled is between 2 and 9, turn to 112. If the total is 10 or more, turn to 188. Okay, so we need to roll 2 dice and see what we get. And we get a 7. Lovely jubbly. Okay, so we were between 2 and 9, so turn to 112. The axe thuds into the back of Phil, I think that's how I pronounce it, who topples over into the river, dead even before he hits the water. The boat sails on, her crew silenced by the unexpected loss of one of their number. Test your luck. If you're lucky, turn to 40. If you're unlucky, turn to 258. Okay, so we need to roll 2 dice, and it needs to be less than or equal to 10 in order for us to be lucky. Let's do that forthwith. So 2 dice. Let's roll. And we get a 6. Lovely. Okay, so that means we were lucky, but we still have to take off a luck point. There we go. Now we're down to 9 luck points. Okay, so we were lucky, and we're turning to 40. A white dove circles, then lands on the deck, and you notice that a small pouch is attached to its leg. The bird appears to be unconcerned as you untie the pouch from its leg. Inside you find a message from Moose. Zagor has sent a doppelganger, a ghost-like imposter of Yazstromo, to trap you when you reach Card. But, as you know, doppelgangers always have green eyes and Yazstromo's eyes are blue. Beware. Wondering how Zagor has found out about your mission, you throw the message into the river. The dove flies off as the boat continues its rapid journey downstream. 10 to 11. Okay, so let's write that down. Let's write it here, I think. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, Yazstromo has blue eyes, not green. Full stop. Or period, as the Americans say for some reason. Right. Now let's turn to 11. Okay, as the morning wears on, dark clouds appear overhead and the wind quickly picks up. The unstable boat is caught by a sudden gust and tilts disconcertingly over to one side. If the crew consists of 5 or fewer members, including you, turn to 54. If there are more than 5 crew left on board, turn to 312. Okay, so let's quickly go to 238 to see how many crew we have. I can't remember. 9 men. So we've lost 1. So we have 8 left. Well, 9. Well, we have 9 including me, which is 10. But we've lost 1, including me. Still including me, rather. So that means we have 9 left, including me. Yeah, so we have 9, which is more than 5. Now, let's go back to 11. I have to say this, this is, something I have to say. I've said it before, but I can't stand use of reflexive pronouns when they're not needed to be used. You don't mean including yourself, because that's not used reflexively or intensively. You mean including you. There's no need for yourself there. It's not used reflexively, and it's not used intensively. And by intensively, I mean something like, he did it himself, or he did it by himself. That's intensively, and reflexively is he is talking to himself, or you are talking to yourself. And that means that the person having the verb done to him is the same as the person who is doing the verb. It's the same entity, so he is talking to himself. So there's no need for yourself there. It's unbelievably annoying. I hate reading it and hearing it, and for some reason people think it sounds more formal when it isn't. It just makes you sound ignorant, at least to me anyway. And it really sounds bad once. I mean, I remember I had a job once, and I'd come back from a meeting, really boring meeting, I might add, and the person who was above me, nominally, he said to me, "Was so and so with yourselves?" Yeah, it doesn't. You mean, was he with you, not yourselves? Because that's not used reflexively. I mean, I might as well just use it. I might as well just use myself every time. I might as well say, myself is reading this book. Myself is going to school. I'm talking to yourself. Would yourself like to come with myself down to themselves to have a gathering with himself? It's just ridiculous. If you use reflexive pronouns all the time, there's no limit to how many times you can use them. They're only used sparingly. It's just unbelievably annoying. Anyway, so we have 5 or fewer members, including me. So, I mean, we have more than 5 crew left on board, including me, so we're going to turn to 312. The crew react by easing the sails and balancing the boat quickly and without undue effort. Their long experience making the task look easy. The boat continues its speedy voyage downriver until at last it glides to a halt at a jetty on the riverbank where a narrow tributary from the north joins the river. You jump off the boat and thank the crew as they turn the boat around to sail back upriver. You approach the people standing on the jetty. There are quite a number milling around, most of them poor and dressed in tattered clothing. They are carrying small bundles and sacks, and all appear sad and downcast. You start a conversation with a tall man wearing a black beard, and learn that he is waiting for a boat to take him upriver to Silverton, so as to escape the plague which is devastating Card. You ask him if he knows the whereabouts of Nostromo. He replies that he last saw the wizard in the town square, mixing potions to give to sick people. The man tells you that if you follow the narrow tributary north for a short distance, you will come to Card. Turn to 182. Wrong way. There's a picture there. Oh, that's presumably Nostromo, or his doppelganger. You soon arrive at the outskirts of the town, and all about you, you sense an atmosphere of despair. I mean, for example, imagine if I used yourself there. Yourself soon arrives at the outskirts of the town, and all about yourself senses an atmosphere of despair. There's no limit to how many times you can use it. So there must be a rule. Even if you didn't know that there was a rule, there must be a rule preventing its use. Otherwise, you could use it all the time. You use them sparingly. Anyway, and all about you, you sense an atmosphere of despair. The occasional person you meet looks either ill or scared, and there is a slight whiff of decay in the air. A cart track runs from the tributary to the town gates, and you see an old man walking along it towards you. He is dressed in long, flowing scarlet robes, and his hair and beard are long and white. And that drawing makes it look grey. From 20 meters away he calls out to you, saying, "Welcome, stranger, I am Nostromo, the wizard you are seeking, I believe." On reaching you, he puts out his hand in greeting. His face is suddenly lit up by the sun as the cloud passes by, and his green eyes sparkle. If you wish to shake his hand, turn to 8. If you prefer not to shake his hand, turn to 159. Okay, so he's the doppelganger. So we're not going to shake his hand. 159. Pretty obvious. Okay. You sense danger. Something is not as it should be. The old man is being too friendly, not the way grumpy old Nostromo behaves at all. Suddenly you have it. His eyes are green, whereas Nostromo's eyes are blue. The impostor in front of you must be a doppelganger, a ghost-like assassin sent to slay you. You must pierce its ethereal heart with your sword before its flesh touches yours, or you will be doomed to immaterial existence in a twilight world. To resolve this combat, roll dice as normal, but do not deduct stamina points. The winner of an attack round rolls both dice again. If a double is rolled, then either the doppelganger's heart is pierced or it touches your flesh, depending on who won the attack round. So I assume that if it touches us, then we're doomed to an immaterial existence in a twilight world, so we have to win this. So we have to win an attack round, and then we have to roll both dice again. And then, so it's pretty much the first one to get a double, well, more or less. Okay, so let's just put doppelganger. Doppelganger. Skill 9, stamina 0, so we just have to... You don't even need to do that. So we just have to keep doing this until either of us gets a double. And that means that so if I win an attack round, then I get a double. That means I win. If he wins an attack round and then he gets a double, that means I'm dead. So it's pretty much the first one to get a double. Okay, let's do this. So my skill is, what was my skill again? 12. Oh, that's quite good. Well, that's really good. Okay, so we roll for him first. He gets a 10, that's 19. I better just write this down. So, I don't like this. He gets a 10 and that's 19. Right, and then I get an 8, that's 20. So that's quite good. Yeah, so 20. So now I get to roll for the double. So if I get a double, he's dead. So I need a double here, but I can't really roll a double with this because oh no, I can read it out here, can't I? Rolled dice. So I need to see if I get a double at the bottom and in the results bit here. Okay, so I need a double. Let's do it. 2 and oh, that was immediate. I got, as you can see, I got a 4, and it says rolled dice or dice because that's the proper plural. 2 and 2, so that's a double. That means I've defeated him first time. That's really lucky. Good, pleased with that. I was quite worried with that actually. Yeah, so we've won, and that means we get. That means he's done diddly un for, to paraphrase Ned Flanders. So 316 we go. Okay, the doppelganger screams, then disintegrates and drifts away like smoke on the wind. You sheathe your sword and breathe a deep sigh of relief. You walk quickly into town and make straight for the town square. There you find a crowd of people huddled round a lone figure. An old man with long white hair and a white beard and wearing scarlet robes. Yazdromo. You call out his name and are able to hear his stern reply above the noise of the crowd. Who in the world wants me now at a time like this? You are so reassured by his grumpy tone that it almost brings a smile to your face, except for the fact that he is surrounded by very sick townsfolk. You tell him your name and ask him to spare you a few minutes to help you prepare for your coming ordeal with Zagor. Zagor, he shouts, if I hear another person utter that infernal warlock's name once more, I'll turn them into toads. Yazdromo waves his arms around and indulges in some unwizardly cursing until finally he calms down and says, Now, my good people of Card, pass this potion of mine among you, and you'll soon be as fit as firefoxes. I must go and see to this young whippersnapper who has just barged in unannounced. You walk away from the crowd with Yazdromo, telling him of your quest and asking for his help. Well, as you can see, my help is needed here, so I am unable to accompany you. You will have to face Zagor alone, and since he is stronger now than he was 10 years ago, you will need to call upon superhuman forces to combat his extraordinary magical powers. You must find the elementals. And he said emeralds there. You must find the elementals. Only the elementals can save you from certain death when facing Zagor. Their material form is out of dragon's teeth cast in gold. Each stamped with a number. Each tooth has a special power, but you must learn the magic word that releases their elemental powers. Then it will simply be a matter of throwing the teeth on the floor in order to activate them. Curiously enough, you will find the dragon's teeth inside the labyrinths of Firetop Mountain. It is part of the price for invoking the Raise Dead spell that its user must offer the chance of his own demise. But, as you would expect, Zagor has hidden the dragon's teeth carefully. You'll need at least 2, but the more the merrier, as they say. Now I must return to my patients. Nostromo gives you a hearty slap on the back, then returns to the sick people of Card. He stops for a moment, looks back at you and says, "Go and see Zoot Zimmer in Hobnail Street. He has a giant eagle that could fly you to Firetop Mountain, and it might be worth paying a visit to Deep Sea Dowland's store in Pudding Street. He has some useful items in there. Here's some gold to spend." Nostromo hurls a leather pouch in your direction, then turns to his ailing townsfolk without waiting for you to thank him. You set off without further delay, heading for Pudding Street. You find Deep Sea's store at the end of a row of shops. Sitting outside the shop is a small boy who is playing with some wooden bricks. If you want to talk to the boy, turn to 233. If you'd rather enter the store without delay, turn to 345. Okay, so we're going to talk to the boy and turn to 233. Where are we? There we go. You say hello to the little boy, but he doesn't look up from his toys. If you're looking for Deep Sea, he's not here, the boy says sulkily. But if you give me a wooden brick for my set, I'll go and fetch him. You are amazed by the boy's cheek and feel like clipping him round the ear. That's more like it. If you have a wooden brick and are willing to give it to the boy, turn to 116. If you do not have a wooden brick or do not wish to give it to the boy, turn to 44. We do have a wooden brick. Evidence is right here. Where are we? Small wooden ball, small wooden brick. Yep, we have one. So we're going to give it to the boy and turn to 116. Okay, so we've given the wooden bricks. Let's just say let's just put given in brackets. There we go. The boy's face lights up when you give him the wooden brick. He jumps up and runs off, returning in a few minutes with a rather tubby old man who is chewing on a chicken leg. He is wearing a white apron and seems to be a jolly old soul. "Shop's closed this afternoon," he says with a smile, "but seeing as you gave a present to Deep Sea Junior here, I don't mind opening up specially for you." He opens the door and you follow him into the rather dingy shop. Obviously many of the objects have stood here for years, as they are thickly coated with dust. There's a stuffed bear, some juggling clubs, hoops, large vases, shields, lanterns, boxes, carvings, statues, paintings, bottles, urns, jars, books, mats, clocks, wigs, games, boots, and hanks of different coloured rope. "Excuse the mess," says Deep Sea. "I must get around to clearing the place up one day. But people usually find what they are after in Deep Sea's store. That they do. The King of String, they call me. Now, how much have you got to spend, and what do you want?" How much gold did we get from Nostromo? Oh, the next paragraph starts. You open Nostromo. I was just trying to think about what the paragraph was. I thought to myself, did I forget to write down how much gold he gave us? Okay, you open Nostromo's pouch and empty the contents onto the countertop. You count out 15 gold pieces, and you decide to keep back 5 and spend 10. Okay, so we're going to keep back 5. So now I'll just put plus 5. There we go. And then we have 10 to spend, because 3 of them have a Z on them. You ask what might be useful for dungeon exploration, and Deep Sea replies, "Here's my list of equipment for that kind of foolhardiness. Everything costs 2 gold pieces. Choose what you like." Okay, so we're going to spend 10. He shows you a slate on which the following items are listed in chalk: lantern, rope, hammer and iron spikes, garlic, mirror, axe, water bottle, magnifying glass, quill, ink and paper, silver dagger, leather gloves, or healing balm. You choose 5 items, make a note on your selection on your adventure sheet, and hand over 10 gold pieces to Deep Sea. Thanks you for your custom, and you leave the store. I prefer to say the shop, with directions on how to find Zoot Zimmer. 1009. Okay. Okay, so the things we're going to get, we're going to take the rope, we're going to take the mirror, the magnifying glass, then the leather gloves, and we're going to take the healing balm. So let's write those down. Rope, mirror. Let's write these down. Rope, mirror, magnifying. Spell that right now, a bit magnifying. Knew I missed that letter. Magnifying glass. Leather gloves. Gloves, rather, not gloves. Leather gloves. And healing balm. Brilliant, let me just scratch my ear a moment. Sorry about that. Right, okay, and then we have the 5 gold pieces as well from Nostromo. Yeah, okay, so that's turn to 309. 309. You find Hobnail Street without much difficulty. Your knock on the door of number 36 is answered by a tall, thin man whose ears are slightly pointed and who is wearing bright red trousers. Okay, I'm just going to write down actually that Zoot Zimmer lives at number 36, just in case we need that. Okay, brilliant. Hello, he says in a slow, calm voice. My name is Zoot Zimmer, and you must be the person who wants to get to Firetop Mountain in a hurry. I can see by your expression that you are wondering how I know that. Well, I heard you talking to Nostromo. I have rather good hearing, you see. I'm a half-elf. Please come in. You follow Zoot into his house, the rooms of which are decorated to resemble a forest. All the walls have trees, bushes, plants, small animals and insects painted all over them from floor to ceiling, and all in incredible detail, giving a very realistic effect. It's the elf in me, laughs Zoot. My mother was from the Vale of Willow. She lived with me here until she died of the plague. The decorations made her feel at home. She never did like living in a town. His face suddenly loses its happiness, and the deep frown takes over. Would you like some of my special herbal tea before we set off? Zoot asks. If you would like some tea to drink, turn to 213. If you prefer to decline his offer and demand that you set off immediately, turn to 361. Okay, we're going to take some tea, so 213. The green tea has a distinctive peppermint flavour and a warm glow runs through your body. It also has secret healing properties. Regain 2 stamina points. After drinking up your tea, I haven't lost any stamina. After drinking up your tea, you follow Zoot into a courtyard at the back of the house. You watch him crane his neck into the sky and let out a high-pitched whistle. Moments later, you make out a speck in the sky. It grows bigger as it glides down effortlessly towards you. It is a huge, beautiful eagle, its feathers magnificent shades of golden brown. With its wings still outstretched, it lands unconcernedly in the courtyard. 10 to 71. The giant eagle appears to be completely unperturbed when Zoot fixes a harness and a 2-man saddle across its back. When he has finished the job, Zoot turns to you and says, "Don't even think about offering me payment for this trip. I just want my mother to be avenged, as I am convinced that this terrible plague which is destroying Card is of Zagor's doing. Come on, climb aboard." You do as Zoot asks, and with a flutter of its massive wings, the eagle carries you high into the sky. Card is soon left behind, and it becomes just another small feature of the landscape beneath you. The sensation of flying is exhilarating, and for a moment you forget the dangerous task that awaits you. Zoot steers the great bird northeastwards, high above the pagan plains. For half an hour you see no other creatures in the sky, but then your luck runs out. Zoot suddenly points towards the distant horizon, where another flying creature is coming into view. If you want to instruct him to land, turn to 240. If you would rather order him to fly on towards Firetop Mountain, turn to 131. We're going to instruct him to land, so turn to 240. The big bird glides down to earth and lands on top of a large boulder that stands alone on the open plain. Meanwhile, the flying creature passes by overhead, seemingly not interested in what is happening on the ground. After 5 minutes, you judge it safe to continue and recommence your flight to Firetop Mountain. 10 to 166. Almost thought that said recommend. 10 to 166. It is late in the afternoon when Firetop Mountain at last comes into view. Its former fiery red peak now a deathly black. You tell Zoot to make the eagle land as close as possible to the cave entrance, which lies at the foot of the south face of the mountain. The giant bird glides down and lands in a clearing. From the ground, Firetop Mountain looks menacing. The steep face in front of you looks as if it has been savaged by the claws of some gargantuan beast. Across the clearing is the dark cave entrance that you hope will lead you to Zagor. Few words are spoken as Zoot holds out his hand to bid you farewell. Soon he is in the air again, turning west for Card. You walk up to the cave entrance, and peer into the gloom. At the back of the cave there is a tunnel which is lit by burning torches. The walls of the cave are dripping with water, and there are stagnant pools on the floor. The air is cold and dank. You hear the sound of tiny feet scurrying across the floor. You take a deep breath, enter the cave, and walk on into a tunnel, soon coming to a junction. If you want to turn left here, turn to 281. If you want to turn right, turn to 140. Okay, we're going to turn left, so turn to 281. Where are we? Nearly there. You soon arrive. Oh, there it is. You soon arrive at a stretch of the tunnel where it curves to the right, and you come across a short, humanoid skeleton propped up in a recess in the wall. The skeleton is wearing leather armor, which is dusty and cracked. There are cobwebs over its face, and its jaw hangs open. It must have stood here undisturbed for years. You walk on round the corner and see 3 doors in a row along the left-hand wall. All 3 doors are heavily padlocked, and iron bars are bolted across them. They do not appear to have been opened for years. You soon come to a junction. Looking left, you see that in a further 10 meters the tunnel ends at a wall. You turn right and come to another junction. If you wish to turn left here, turn to 37. If you prefer to keep going straight on, turn to 152. We're going to turn left here, so turn to 37. Here we are. A few meters up the tunnel, you see 3 doors in the right-hand wall. You walk up to the first door and press your ear against it, but you can hear nothing. The handle turns in your hand. Will you open the door, turn to 389, or walk on to the second door, turn to 56? We're going to open the door, turn to 389. The room is quite small, and its floor is covered in bones, debris, whatever, and dirt. In the far corner you see a chain which is bolted to the wall. Will you rummage around in the dirt, turn to 242, pull on the chain, turn to 332, or walk onto the second door, turn to 56. We're going to pull on the chain, so turn to 332. The stone to which the chain is attached starts to move. You pull even harder and the stone comes flying out of the wall, almost knocking you off your feet. You inspect the hole and realize that you have opened up a secret compartment. You try to fit your head through the hole in the wall to see inside the compartment, but your head is too big. Will you put your arm into the compartment, turn to 92, rummage around in the dirt if you have not done so already, turn to 242, leave the room and walk onto the second door, turn to 56. We're going to put our arm into the compartment, so turn to 92. You reach down into the compartment until your head touches a jelly-like substance at the bottom. If you are wearing leather gloves, turn to 178. If you do not have a pair of gloves on, turn to 377. Okay, well, we bought some gloves, so presumably we're actually wearing them. So let's turn to 178. There wasn't an option to put them on, but I assume that we put them on anyway. No point buying them if you didn't put them on immediately. Now your fingers feel their way through the jelly at the bottom of the compartment, and you come into contact with a small cylindrical canister. You lift it out and are surprised to see that your glove is now smouldering. The jelly must have been acidic, you deduce, and it was fortunate that you were wearing gloves. Add 1 point. You see that the canister is made of iron and that the lid will unscrew. You decide to unscrew the top slowly. As you do so, green smoke starts to creep out. If you want to throw the canister back through the hole in the wall, turn to 235. If you would rather continue unscrewing the top, turn to 134. We're going to continue. Oh yeah, we added a luck point, didn't we? Let's get a luck point back. So that puts us up to 10. Brilliant. Yeah, we're going to continue unscrewing the top. So we're going to turn to 134. Now the green smoke continues to escape from the canister, but it does not do you any harm. It soon disperses and drifts away. Inside the canister you find a dragon's tooth made of gold and with the symbol of a heart inside a flaming circle stamped on its base. After examining it, you place it carefully in your pocket. Add 1 luck point. Okay, so we have a dragon's tooth, symbol of a heart. Okay. So I should write that down. Gold dragon's tooth with symbol of a heart, and we have an extra luck point. I'll go to the next line. Add another luck point. There we go. Lovely. For you can. Yeah, after examining it, you place it carefully in your pocket. Add 1 luck point. If you have not done so already, you may now rummage around in the dirt. Turn to 242. Otherwise, you are left with no choice but to go out of this room and walk onto the second door. Turn to 56. Heart. Oh no, wait a minute. Heart and flaming circle. Wait a minute. Heart and flaming circle. There we go. Just need to write that down properly, just in case we need it. Okay, so we're going to go out of this room and walk onto the second door. Turn to 56. You listen intently at the door, but you can hear no sounds coming from the other side. You turn the handle and find that the door is unlocked. If you want to enter the room, turn to 226. If you'd rather walk onto the third door, turn to 273. Okay, we're going to walk onto the third door, turn to 273. The next door in the tunnel is made of solid iron. You press your ear against the cold metal but hear nothing. If you want to open the door, turn to 87. If you'd rather walk further up the tunnel, turn to 23. We're going to open the door, so turn to 87. You enter a derelict room that was once a torture chamber. All manner of instruments of pain are strewn about. Branding irons, knives, chains, thumbscrews, ropes, whips, and an iron maiden, all long since abandoned, lie covered in dust and cobwebs on the stone floor. In the middle of the chamber you see a rack, the most feared torture instrument known. The skeleton of an unfortunate victim is still tied to the rack. The skeleton's jaw hangs open, as though screaming in agony. On closer inspection you notice a gold ring on one of the fingers of the skeleton. If you wish to take this ring, turn to 5. If you would rather leave the torture chamber and carry on up the tunnel, turn to 23. Let's have a look at this. Ugh, horrible. It's not really a that thing there, that thing where you go in and it spikes and that. It isn't really a torture chamber, because that would kill you instantly. Anyway, I've always thought that anyway. Yeah, so we are going to take the ring, so turn to 5. So we came in here. As you lean over the rack and reach for the skeleton's finger, you hear a smothered laugh coming from above. Looking up, you see a weighted net dropping down on top of you. Roll 2 dice. If the total is less than or equal to your skill, turn to 339. If the total is greater than your skill, turn to 252. Okay, so we're going to test our skill. So, I mean, yeah, this is testing our skill pretty much. Total is 2 dice, has to be less than or equal to your skill. let's do that. Yes, the skill is 12, so we need to... Yeah, this is guaranteed to win, isn't it? We'll do it anyway. 6 is less than or equal to 12, so... So we can go to 339 because it's less than or equal to our skill. 339. Okay. Here we are. You jump back just in time as the heavy net crashes down on top of the skeleton. Looking up, you see a hole in the ceiling. A green, warty face with pointed nose, ears, and chin is staring down at you. It's a goblin, and it is angry that it has failed to capture you. The goblin shakes its fist at you and spits, then disappears. If you want to climb up the rope that is hanging down from the ceiling and attach to the net and chase after the goblin, turn to 51. If you'd rather take the skeleton's gold ring, turn to 215. If you want to leave the room and press on up the tunnel, turn to 23. We're going to take the gold ring and turn to 215. The gold ring is stamped with the number 30 and inscribed with the words, "Seeing is believing." If you want to place the ring on your finger, turn to 384. If you'd rather leave it with the skeleton, you can now either climb up the rope in pursuit of the goblin, turn to 51, or leave the room and go further up the tunnel, turn to 23. Okay, so we're going to place the ring on our finger. Turn to 384. I think it was 384 anyway. Nervously, you slip the ring over your forefinger. Nothing happens except that a warm glow spreads slowly through your whole body. Let's just write that down. Ring 30. Seeing is believing. Gold ring, I'll put. Okay, it spreads slowly through your whole body. The strange feeling subsides, and now it is time to decide your next action. If you want to climb up the rope to pursue the goblin, turn to 51. If you'd rather leave the room and go further up the tunnel, turn to 23. So, we're going to turn to 51. You climb up through the hole in the ceiling into a small candlelit. Is that a word? I always thought it was candle-lit. In a small candlelit way. I'm just going to pause the video and see if that really is a word. Hang on a sec. And we are back. I looked to see if candlelit is a word, and it isn't. It's missing out the first L. There should be an L between the D and the E. So, yeah. I was wrong, though. It isn't hyphenated. It's just one word, candlelit, with definitely an L in between the D and the E. Anyway, so you climb up through the hole in the ceiling into a small candlelit room with stone walls and a low roof, too low to allow you to stand upright. There is a narrow tunnel in one of the walls. A large sword hangs on the wall next to the tunnel entrance. Its blade is made of a dark, almost black metal. If you wish to take the sword, turn to 355. If you would rather squeeze through the narrow tunnel, turn to 68. We're going to take the sword, so turn to 355. Scratched on the hilt of the sword is the name Darkblade Skullbiter. The name sends a shiver down your spine when you remember that it belonged to one of the fiercest Chaos champions who ever lived. You wonder why Darkblade's legendary sword is hanging on a goblin's wall deep inside Firetop Mountain, but for the time being your question must remain unanswered. With the Chaos champion's sword in hand, you squeeze yourself along the narrow tunnel. 10 to 68. Okay, so we're going to take Darkblade's sword. So we've taken that. So let's just put new line. No, I need that. Yeah, Darkblade's sword. And return to 68. This will be the last paragraph of this video. So this has just gone 40 minutes. The tunnel is dark and you are forced to use your hands to grope along the floor ahead of you to avoid the chance of falling down an unseen shaft. About 20 meters further ahead, your hand encounters an iron spike that has been driven into the stone floor. Beyond the spike, the floor disappears and becomes a total black void. You are fairly sure that the tunnel ends at the far side of the shaft, since you can just make out a wall, a certain dead end. Just as you are wondering how far down it is to the bottom of the shaft, you hear the unnerving sound of metal grating on stone coming along the tunnel behind you. You feel trapped. Perhaps it's the goblin, but how could he be behind you since you did not find him in his room? If you want to turn around and crawl back along the tunnel, turn to 114. If you'd rather attempt to climb down the shaft, turn to 383. Okay, so we'll leave that for next time. So on paragraph 68, I'll just put 68 here. There we go, lovely. And we'll decide what to do in the next video. So thank you very much for watching. In the next video I'll decide whether to crawl back along the tunnel or climb down the shaft. Thanks again and goodbye.